Anyways, unravel the mysteries and rumors of strange happenings in the to save a remote seacoast town and Dungeons and Dragons Online sinister secrets of the Salt Marsh, explore the marshlands and fight new enemies, brave a desolate haunted mansion, and uncover the true secrets of the Salt Marsh. So it's level 3 on Heroic and level 32 on Legendary. Get started by speaking with an NPC, Vol Arkalamnash, on the Gatekeeper's Grove. Alright, and then VIP rewards. So if you're a VIP, you save 10% on all the expansion costs. So that's important. And then also, if you're a VIP, you'll get a claim ticket over the next month. And if you turn that in after you've bought the expansion, you'll get a VIP Elixir of Discovery. Let's look at the patch notes. Characters. Poison damage resistance now properly reduces poison damage. This is good because there's a lot of items that have poison resistance on them in this latest update. So actually having this work is a good idea. I didn't know this didn't work. I've never used a poison resistance item, so I didn't know. Druids now get protection from elements mass as a level 7 spell. This is good. Druids will continue to get more spells as of update 51, but this is a good step. This is a useful spell, and so I'm surprised they didn't have it previously. Changes have been made to the spellcasting system that make spellcasting more reliable. This may prevent dry firing of spells in certain situations. Basically, there can be situations where you cast a spell, but the animation on your side doesn't match the animation on the server side, and so then you try to cast another spell, and it doesn't do anything. This happens to me literally every time I play my Sorcerer, because Sorcerers cast extremely fast, so it doesn't actually line up client and server. This is supposed to be a lock that prevents that from happening. Hirelings will now cast their spells more reliably when directed to do so. You ever had that problem, which happens to me, where sometimes you click the spell on a hireling bar, and they cycle, and they rotate through the thing, and then it doesn't actually cast off? Well, now this is being fixed, so that's hopefully being fixed. Fixed an issue. We're trying to swap out of a missile weapon into a melee weapon. Wouldn't queue properly. I don't know what that means. Monster's perception range is now slightly smaller. So there you go, stealth buff for everybody. Saving throws on all epic monsters on elite and hard have been reduced. Legendary 2 monster boosts have been removed. Underwater combat has been adjusted for playability and no longer adjusts what spells are able to cast. Penalize your movement or attack rates as severely and instead makes fire spells deal 80% damage and electric spells deal 120% damage while underwater. This means now all those underwater quests can be they're just able to be done a lot easier, which is good, and it means that if you're playing a fire sorcerer, fire alchemist, fire druid, fire whatever, you can still cast your spells underwater. Now, some people will say, but this is stupid. Why would you even be allowed to cast your spells underwater? Because that's stupid. And yeah, it is kind of stupid, but it's way better for the video game and actually having fun. So in terms of supportive decisions, I've been supportive to this decision, especially as somebody who's currently actively playing as a fire warlock on my character. Okay, so enhancements. We have a new universal enhancement tree called the Horizon Walker is now available. Horizon Walker is available in the Collectors and Ultimate Editions of the Secrets of the Salt Marsh. Important note, you can also earn the Horizon Walker tree from the Gatekeeper rep. So you don't have to buy the Collector's and Ultimate Edition, you just have to get Gatekeeper rep. The new expansion is Gatekeeper plus all the previous Gatekeeper stuff. No. The items aren't in the patch notes, so we can't go over the items. Horizon Walker is a hunter that traverses planes, hunting extraplanar enemies with a bow. They are rugged adventurers, prepared for any kind of danger on any number of planes, and are attuned to enough planes that they can occasionally manipulate planar alignments to avoid danger. So, important note, general theme, this is a bow tree, okay? This is not meant for anything else, it's meant to be a bow tree. There are some low-hanging fruit because there is a Dex Trance, which is to say there is a unique ability that grants extra stats based on your dexterity. So many characters that use dexterity that aren't bow will use the bottom parts of the tree, but the top parts of the tree and the majority of it is for bows. Additionally, this is not as high damage as some of the other trees that exist in the game. This is actually a lot more defense. And they say avoidance defenses such as dodge and incorporeality. There's a lot of defense in here. You feel really tanky when playing as a Horizon Walker in comparison to possibly using some of the other trees. So like if I was to make a good comparison between the Ranger Deepwood Stalker and this tree does less damage than Deepwood Stalker for sure, but you gain a lot more defensive effects, which might be more valuable. So the important mechanic here is the marking of a target. So you get this mark target ability right here. When you mark a target, it takes like a second where your character goes like so, and they mark it, and the target has minus to their armor class. As you continue to level up and take more cores, so these are the first 6 cores, you get extra fortification reduction, extra armor class penalty on the monsters. They get more saving throw reduction. They have the more fortification penalties, more armor class as you level it up. Even more fortification, saving throws, and armor class. Then you get minus 25% movement speed when you mark people, so they move slower. Not you, they move slower, the marked targets move slower. And then finally, favorite enemy marked target, so you always consider your marked targets to be favorite enemies, dealing extra damage against them. It's important to note that this ability right here, this extra favored marked target, is actually going to apply double on anything that you have as a favorite enemy. So let's just say you have favorite enemy, Evil Outsider, and you're fighting against Sulamades, who's the final boss of Legendary Vision of Destruction and Vision of Destruction, and then you mark him with this effect, you will get double your favorite enemy bonus. And so if you're playing as a ranger, that gives you like, I think it's like an extra 24 damage per shot against that target, which is a surprising, or it's like, it's a substantial amount, it's noticeable. Additionally, on top of this, for the cores, the second core gets you +3 max dex bonus while wearing light armor. The third core gets you a haste spell-like ability. The fourth core gets you +3 maximum dodge. The fifth core gets you Dimension Door. And the top core gives you 2 extra many shot charges, so you can have 5 many shot charges in total. How hard does it get to 400 favor? I don't know. Can't be that hard. Most of the quests are like really, really straightforward for the gatekeepers. And this expansion comes with 10 quests. So it's going to be like an extra 160 along the way. So can't be that bad. I for accuracy gives you attack with weapons. Opening shot is a bow attack that adds extra damage per hit. So it's like you're supposed to use this. You don't have to use this as your opening shot. It just does. It's a bow hit that does more force damage. Planar dodge is dodge. Skills is skills. And then conjure arrow, you get activate to create a stack of returning +1 arrows. These arrows are destroyed when you log out for an extended period of time. So this is great. I don't know why they don't have conjure arrows or conjure bolts, the same sort of thing in Inquisitive, but I'm happy with this. Tier 2, you've got extra damage with bows and longbows. You've Take the Opening. So this one adds extra damage to opening shot if the target is at full health. This actually isn't if they're at full health. It's if they're like above 95% health, so there's a little bit of leeway. However, it's important to note that this is a weird ability because if you're shooting at something first, like if you're the first person to attack a monster, then you run into the major issue of, like, here, actually, I'm going to change this. If you're the first person to attack a monster, you're going to run into the very, very large issue where aggro will be on you, and you may not want that, because getting aggro on you is not always ideal. So I would say, in this scenario, Take the Opening is going to be difficult to use while in a group, but easy to use while solo. So yeah. Protection from evil and good. Rank 1 is like gives you protection from evil 100% of the time. I don't know how useful this is. You're probably going to have this spell, so it's not the best. Favorite enemy, Evil Outsider, is just nice to have, and it's an extra favorite enemy, very cheap. And then Skilled Navigator, saving throws versus traps. You'd be surprised how useful this is, especially for something like Hardcore League. Tier 3 is where you have the trance, so no missed step. So you get battle trance, extra damage, insight bonus to the DC of tactical feats, and damage based on half your dexterity modifier, which is going to be good for dex-based classes. This means that you don't have to play an intelligence-based assassin, for example. You could just take no misstep here. So there's a lot of different options that I think many people would consider. A couple of abilities that are insane here. 2 places at once when you use Many Shot or Scatter Shot. Scatter Shot's down below. You get displacement for 12 seconds. Displacement's extremely good. And so being able to use Many Shot all the time, you'll have this up pretty much every single moment you're in combat, and having displacement up is really, really powerful. I used to play as an Elven Ranger to be able to get access to this, and now you don't actually need to play an Elven Ranger, so that's kind of cool. Archer's Focus, or Hunter's Focus, which is if Archer's Focus is enabled, remaining stationary grants extra stacks of Archer's Focus. Archer's Focus grants 5 ranged power per stack, and it stacks up to 15 times, going all the way up to 25 if you have some abilities later in this tree. So what it means is you can only get these stacks while standing still. So you're supposed to be like a turret, just standing still and shooting. But the benefit here is that you don't actually need to stand still and shoot. You're able to like kind of move around, stop for a bit, get 5 stacks instantaneously, or a D4 plus 4, so 5 to 8 stacks, and then start moving again. It actually helps you keep your stacks really, really, really well. So keep that in mind. Will it cost DDO points? Yes, you'll be able to get this for DDO points in February of 2022, and it's going to cost 2,000. All right, Tenacious Hunter, which does extra damage against marked targets, or extraplanar creatures. You get extra +6 damage. I think that if you mark an extraplanar creature, you get double, but I'm not sure. Moving up to the tier 4, you've got Corner the Quarry, which is an attack that's based off of Listen. I initially thought that this would be very bad. However, Listen is very easy to come by through augments, so actually getting Listen is going to be very, very easy in this build. So effectively, it's an immobilize where monsters just don't move at all, similar to pin. And you just have to have them marked. If they're Vorpal, they're stunned, but this is like very unlikely to even happen because it's a Vorpal. However, it just does a bunch of extra damage, especially if you get banished the quarry later on. Walker's Guidance is extremely cheap and lets you cast evasion and improved evasion on yourself and an ally, as well as getting bonus saving throws versus traps. Is this good? Not really, but it only costs 1 point. And since it only costs 1 point, you may consider just taking it for especially something like Hardcore League, because it's going to be quite good in certain scenarios. Most of the time it's not good, but some of the times it's going to be really good. So I feel like this is something you're probably not going to take most of the time, except in certain circumstances, like I said, Hardcore League, where you got to stay there. Did they up the range of Mark? I don't know. They said that they were doing that. I don't know if they did that, but they said that they were doing that. Scattershot, ranged bow attack. Expend 1 charge to randomly select up to 3 different enemies at close range and shoot 1 arrow at each of them. Each of these shots can double shot and have a +1 critical threat range and multiplier. So what this means is that your character is able to effectively fire 3 arrows at different targets. It's like many shot, but instead of shooting 1 person 3 times, you shoot 1 person each 1 time. I tested this out a bunch. I found it to be mostly lackluster. When it worked, it was fine, but a lot of times your arrows disappear. It doesn't deal with like verticals very well. So if a monster is like on a staircase next to you, it's not going to hit them. So it's difficult. How long are you going to be streaming for today? Playing football later, so I won't be able to watch for a couple hours. I'm probably going to be streaming for like the next 12 hours as a minimum. So yeah, I'll be here all day. And then you have the tier 5, the top tier. So you have Feywild Attunement, which gives you +1 critical threat range and multiplier with longbows and shortbows. But most importantly, you have base attack bonus equal to your character level while using longbows and shortbows. Now this effect is really powerful because it just saves you some time. Usually you would use Tensor's Transformation or other effects to get base attack bonus equal to your character level, because base attack bonus, if you didn't know, is 25 for any type of physical character. So this gives you an extra 5 base attack bonus. And if you're not playing as a pure physical character like a ranger or a fighter or somebody who scales really well off of regular weapons, it's even lower. So like favored souls only get 20. A lot of characters get much lower. So this gives it equal to your character level, and there are a lot of effects that scale extra damage based off of your base attack bonus for longbows, like many shot and point blank shot, which is it point? No, many shot and rapid shot, which gives you extra range power and double shot based on your base attack bonus. So this is very good. Banish the Quarry does extra damage with your corner of the quarry if they're marked, and also if they're extra planar, they have to choose whether they're going to die or not. I don't think this works in Amrath because those creatures are from there, but banishing stuff is going to be very useful. Misty Step, you rush forward, getting a +5 reflex saves and 20% stacking incorporeality. And additionally, when you tumble or use Misty Step, you gain range power equal to your character level. This ability is very good. Honestly, it's like 6 stacks of Archer's Focus if you use this ability, and it also stacks with it. The main issue that people have with this is you're incentivized to use this to get the extra stats, but I think in general, it's a good defensive tool, so if you have to move around, you're able to either tumble or quickly get away, and you get a damage buff that will sustain you while you're waiting to get your Archer's Focus abilities back. So that one seems fine to me. Power shot, when you critically hit an enemy with this mini shot or scatter shot, the enemy takes extra force damage per character level. It scales with 200% range power. This is just extra damage. It's not underwhelming, but it depends on how often you get critical hits. And then improved Archer's Focus. The Archer's Focus stance now stacks with 25 times, and you get 10% double shot. So this is 25 times. So if you have all your Archer's Focus stacks, that's, 125? Range power now, which is a lot. You too. Phil says location change on Feywild Attunement. Yeah, 100%. My understanding is that they probably just copy and paste a lot of the stuff. And then it says, anyone gaining evasion from Walker's Guidance still has to follow evasion rules for evasion to work. Will we ever get universal lives? I hope not. Pray to God that we do not. That would be a terrible decision for the game. Eldritch Knight's item defense now gives its listed amount of item defense. This used to give you 100%. It doesn't do that anymore. The Meticulous Weaponry now has anti-requisites as the other form of item defense. That's good. Knight of the Chalice, tier 3 ranged attack, was sharing its name with the tier 5 ability. It has been fixed to Exalted Shot. I don't know why it wasn't called Exalted Shot in the first place. The Aura of Courage buff from the Knight of the Chalice capstone now reliably applies to all party members. This is good. Thief Acrobat Sweeping Strikes now uses trip DCs, which is going to be a massive buff to Thief Acrobat. You have to understand the Thief Acrobat has now just received actual trip DC scaling on its trip attack that scales off of dexterity, and the dexterity trance that you can now get out of the Horizon Walker tree, this is going to be a big deal. So yeah, that's gonna be a huge buff to Thief Acrobat. Will we see Thief Acrobats all over the place? I'm not sure, but it's a big buff. Henshin Mystic SLAs now correctly factor in stunning bonuses. This is a buff to Henshin Mystic. It's not a big buff, but it is a technical buff to Henshin Mystic. Inquisitive's crossbow style no longer claims it has 2/3 double shot reduction. Instead, it has its actual 1/2. That's a text fix. Inquisitive's passive dodge from hit the streets now functions. I didn't realize this didn't work. Eldritch Rituals no longer sometimes place buggy visual effects on your character in certain situations. I've never seen this before. Nature's Protector, third core, no longer erroneously grants the spell Great Maul, and now it's correctly granted the fourth ability. No! They fixed it! They fixed Druid! Why? Oh, that Bear Druid ability was so good, dude! What is the path to Dextrance for melee? Probably dodge and, like, favorite enemies and stuff. Ugh. Most stuff is ranged? No, the higher tier stuff is ranged. The lower tier stuff is not. Like, if you're looking at it, you've got dodge, you've got skills, you have attack with weapons, you have protection from good and evil, you have the skilled navigator for saving throws versus traps, and favorite enemy, evil outsider. All that stuff is pretty easy to acquire. Alright, well, they patched this. You used to get Great Maul at level 6, now you have to wait till 12, which is sad. I was really hoping they would just change the text and give you Great Maul at 6, but anyway, that's fine, I guess. Anyway, so Radiant Servant has been updated. The primary healing tree for clerics has been adjusted. We've gone over Radiant Servant before, so I'm just going to give you the quick and dirty highlight, which is basically pacifism is gone because it was really bad, and now you have a Cure Moderate Wounds spell-like ability, which is really, really, really good. The capstone grants 4 wisdom, which is nice. They reduce the cost of the tree by 30 points, or probably even more than 30 points. They combined a bunch of enhancements, so they're just what was used to be 2 different enhancements you have to spend different points on are now just combined together. There's these extra positive critical damage. These were 2%, now they're 3% on the test server, which is really nice. So they actually made a buff to the cleric, which is all good. So for 3 AP, you can get 9% positive spell critical multiplier, which is nice. And while you have Mighty Turning and attempt to turn an undead that is immune to death effects, it will now attempt to turn the creature. Oh, perfect! So now, if you turn a monster and they have Death Ward, they'll now actually just get... They're frozen instead of being immune. Very cool. Martyrdom is now 1 point. And now also reliably heals nearby allies, damages nearby undead, and doesn't do anything to non-undead enemies. Perfect. The prerequisite chain of Divine Healing, Martyrdom, and Reactive Heal has been disconnected, so you can take those all if you want. You have Mass Resist Energy spell-like ability, and then Radiance, Tier 5. Activate all allies in the dungeon, regardless of distance, gain the effects of Greater Restoration spell, and purges Paralysis, Stun, and Knockdown/Trip. This can be used while crowd-controlled. This ability is amazing, and it is such a sick cooldown. I can't wait to see people use Radiance. Post-Stack Crunch, at cap. So for actually probably an entirety of epics, I would say from 20 to 30 you can't really turn undead, but before level 20 you'll be able to turn whatever you want. All right, Shadar-kai. Again, we've already talked about this. I'm going to give you the quick and dirty about Shadar-kai and what's changed about it.
Can we roll back the server so you can play chains how it's meant to be played?
No. Great question though. Thank you for your question. I appreciate the question, but no. So, what did they change about Shadar-kai? Shadar-kais used to have to spend points in their tree to get access to their chain attack. Now, you get hit by the chain attack when you're playing in Wayloon, and you get one shot. Just boom. These Shadar-kais are like whipping their chain around, they're kicking your ass, they're breaking your neck, and you're like, what's happening to me? Why do I have to... what's going on? Well, guess what? You don't have to worry about that anymore, because here, you would get that, and you're like, I'm going to kick those Shadar-kais' ass. And you get your chain attack, and you start whipping it around, and it does nothing. You do no damage to monsters. And then they kill you. Well, no more. Not today. They actually changed it. So now instead of having to spend points in the chain attack, you just get it for free. So Shadar-kais just have the chain. And additionally, it uses your weapon. So it's literally just a weapon attack with +1 critical threat range and multiplier. It's 3 cleaves in one on a 12-second cooldown. So you press it, you cleave 3 times. And it does +1 to threat range, +1 to multi, and +1 W. So you'll be able to get that, which will be pretty exciting. Additionally, it's free. So you don't have to put any points in the tree. And then in the tree, they've also made more adjustments. So they've made a lot of the effects less expensive or moved them down. They've added a bunch of trip effects to some of these chains. They've added this ghostly dodge effect to the chains. They've added a displacement spell-like ability into the tree, so you just have displacement all the time. And then finally, tier 4, Whirling Chain Attack has been changed to Greater Spiked Chain Attack, where you now have a Super Spiked Chain. Important note about the Super Spiked Chain and the other one is that their attack speed on the cleaves actually scales with your attack speed themselves, which is one of the reasons why I'm trying this single weapon fighting. Important note that you need a light melee weapon to use this, so you'll need like daggers and other things. So it should be good. Yeah, I'm going to be trying it out. R10 Thrill using only Shadar-kai when. We're going to see how it goes with the chains. So we're going to see. That's literally what I'm playing, so I'll let you know. Yeah, and then you also get the Shadar-kai debuff, which is cool. Alright, so favor. The 400 Gatekeeper favor now gives you Horizon Walker. And the Patron rewards feats should now consistently remain through lesser and epic reincarnations. Sometimes they would come off. Wow, 99. That's crazy. Those are some good rolls. I'm not going to beat any of those. Burst of Glacial Wrath now works on everything, rather than erroneously excluding certain monsters. Burst of Glacial Wrath is now God tier, so keep this in mind. We'll do the weather later, so I'm not doing that now. Patron reward feats now consider remain. That's okay. And favorite enemy feats now have more accurate descriptions. All right. Permanent gold seal hirelings such as the Onyx Panther, Saltmarsh Bullywug Rogue, and Owl the Bear Defender are now bound to account. I'm hoping it makes all of them. I was told that it's going to be all of them, but I'm hoping it's going to be all of them. Alright, Scroll Seal Shard update. I am going to quickly talk about this, but here's the gist of it. Basically, in the Fjarland Carnival, the Sands of Menectaren, the Sentinels of Stormreach, the Chronoscope, the Red Fens, the Vault of Night, and the Web of Chaos, all of these quest packs and items that you could take from their heroic counterparts and turn them into epic items. The process for this required a scroll, a seal, and a shard, and suffice to say, getting all of these was an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare to get all of them. So, to combat this, they're changing up how the entire system works. Now, instead of a quest dropping a scroll, a seal, or a shard when you complete it, instead, you will now just get the pack ingredients. So, as an example of the Vault of Night, instead of looting a chest and finding a seal of the Vault of Night, or like a seal of the Necklace of the Silver Concord, you'll find vault keys. And when you have enough vault keys, you can turn the item from a heroic item into an epic item. It's much easier to do. It's really easy and consistent. All of your scrolls, seals, and shards can be easily converted into these new currencies. So we'll be taking a look at how many that is. I'm not sure how much they convert for, but you'll be able to see that. However, the next step is legendary items. Not only did all of these items get the ability to be upgraded easier, but they've also been fully revamped and have a legendary counterpart. So now, all the level of the heroic items from these packs have been updated to modern standards, and the epic items have been updated to modern standards, and there's now legendary items that you'll be able to upgrade to again. So to get the pack ingredients, you just got to play and do the quests, and all these items are going to be good. Now, what are the effects and how are all of them going to be? We don't know all of them yet. I think there's a way I can see them, but we'll have to see there. So keep that in mind. To get the legendary variants, you will need star fragments, and star fragments are only going to drop from the legendary Saltmarsh at the start, and they said will become more widely available in future updates. I would expect that later this year there's going to be another quest pack that's going to come out in the fall that will come with the Epic Destiny enhancement, and you'll probably be able to get the star fragments from that as opposed to just the Saltmarsh, so just give it some time. So for this currently, you can only upgrade Sand, Fjarland, and other legendary if you own Saltmarsh. You can only get it to legendary if you have star fragments, which you get from Saltmarsh. Yes, that is correct. Players with old epic items can update to the new version by placing them in the altar of rituals. So if you have any of the old items and you want to like get the new versions, you just take them into where there's legacy altar of rituals or a stone of change. You whip them in there and you press the button and it upgrades them to the new setup. So keep that in mind. All right, so with endgame itemization update. Endgame itemization. So yeah, so that's everything that's here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's good. I'm just double checking the things. The main issue is that you're unable to get level 30 variants until the Saltmarsh is in the store. Well, they said they're going to be making it available before it's, like, they're not available at Saltmarsh at the start, or they're only available in Saltmarsh at the start, but they'll be making them more available in future updates. So I imagine we'll probably be able to get more of them as the future goes on. So keep that in mind. Oh, the DDO stream just rated Voodoo. Nice. So I was checking that out. they make any changes to heroic items? Yes, every heroic item has been updated in its entirety. They're all significantly better than they were before. Okay, and the last thing I think on this list is the endgame itemization update. We've talked about this before with update 50 and some of the things that are happening. The long and short of it, this is a whole wall of text. I highly recommend, if you're concerned about it, you please go through and read it. But to give you the long and short of it, they are taking all of the items that are at the level cap and they're shoving them down to a lower power level, and they're adjusting the monsters accordingly. And the reason why they're doing this is because the level scaling isn't linear. In fact, I'm going to show you how it is. So here is an example. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example. I'm just going to get some paint out here. Okay, so yeah, so there's that. That's good. And then let's put that there. Okay, so here's your graph, right? And over here you have item power. Item power. And then here you have item level, right? So what you would expect in a video game is something like, so like if I have some ticks, right? So if I've got like, you know, if I got some ticks over here, we got some stuff with the marks, and we got like 30. Oh my god, I'm not right-handed. Writing with my right hand is so hard. So we got like 30 over here, right? This is like your level 30, and I don't know, this is like 15, and this is like 1. So these are like your levels. This is not perfect, but anyway, if this is your levels, you're out here. This is how you would expect the game to go. So you would expect it to do this. So as you level up, this is your item power, right? So you level up and you get more powerful items. Now, you may even consider there to be a little bit of an adjustment, right? So maybe it's a little bit more powerful at the end. Now, here's how DDO kind of does it, which I think is a big deal. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. I'm going to actually I need a little bit more space. I'm going to shove this down here. Okay. So this is how DDO should do it, right? So you got your item power, and we're all good. Well, the main problem is the way that DDO currently does it is, I'm going to use this red line to indicate. So it should be like this. But the way that DDO has it currently is something like this. This is the current item curve. In terms of the stats. It's a little higher than that, but this is the current curve, where you have this like line that goes and goes, and then almost all the power is up here. So the stats go up by 50% around level 29 versus where you imagine it should be. And the problem with this is it makes you wonder, why the heck are there even items in this entire level range here? Why would I use any of this? This is a waste of time. You know, why would I ever get any of the items in this actual area, right? Because if you try to get a single item in here, it's just a waste of time. And then also at the end of it, any new content is just going to replace all the old content. So what they're doing is they're shrinking it back to this kind of linear system. So if an item happens to be level 28, you can find it along the curve or along the line, and everything follows a straight linear line. This means that any item that's effectively level I don't know, like 26 to 30, is going to be able to find some level of viability. Okay, 19 to 20 curve? No, there's no 19 to 20 curve. There is a curve there technically because the level 19 items were designed at a different time, and they need to go back in time and update everything to the curve. I don't know if they have the power to do that, but they should like just by like click a button and have it auto update everything, but we'll see. So what is this going to do? What they're doing here is they're taking all of the items that have at the higher values, and they're going to shove them down. They mentioned changing the new epic items. I didn't see anything on the heroic upgrading. Hartman, I have like 3 YouTube videos that are like several hours long where I go through all the items. You don't have to watch them all. I'm just telling you and confirming for you that they did update all the heroic items. You don't have to believe me or listen to me, but I'm promising you it's 100% true. Okay, so with this squish, are you going to lose character power? Now, the goal of this is no. I can't tell you that's exactly what happened, though, for 2 reasons. Number 1, there are some things that were not made equally, okay? So to get started with this, it is not going to be possible for you to turn undead at the end game unless something changed between Preview 2 and this expansion, okay? So there's Unfortunately, nothing I can say that. You just won't be able to turn. That's it. However, outside of that, pretty much everything else is going to be easier. The monster health is coming down by a good amount to go along with the item stats. So monster health is coming down by 25%. They're losing a bunch of armor class. Additionally, all the monsters in Sharn and beyond are losing their legendary 2 buff. So they're losing -10 to their saving throws, a bunch of melee range power, 100 fortification, 150 fortification bypass, spell pen. They're losing PRR. They're losing a whole bunch of attack bonus. So your armor class is going to be more impactful. Everything is losing saving throws. So it's going to be a lot stronger in general for your characters to compete in the same level of content. From my testing, and what I found is that the monsters were doing a little bit less damage than before, and I was doing a little bit more damage than before. And I tested this on Epic Elite, I tested this with First Life characters, I tested this with my existing characters, and I tested this on up to Reaper 5. I found that, in general, pretty much all these experiences were easier than before. The one complaint that you will hear the most about is that their spellcasters are getting double nerfed, where they're getting their spell points and their spell power reduced, and that's unfair compared to melees. But you can make numbers are cool, and you can do anything you want with them. Yes, if you ignore the fact that spellcasters if you say spellcasters are losing spell power as well as spell damage, and you ignore the fact that melees are losing deadly and seeker and deception among other stats, then yeah, you can make these things seem like a false equivalency, but they are, everyone is losing a very comparable amount of strength and power. The stat switch will increase the divide between players with 1 million past lives and none even more. So yes and no. This will make a larger impact. Past lives and passive stats, your enhancement trees, your build, will have a larger impact on your stats than before. However, the strength of monsters relative is coming down. So this will technically make a larger gap between those two player types in terms of how much strength that they have. But the gap will be less relevant because your character that has less stats is going to be more competitive in the regular content that you're going in up against. So it's one of those like technically yes, but this is an increase in general strength for players that don't have access to all of those things. And also it's going to make it easier for you to get gear. So yeah, just you're like, it is right, but that there will be a larger comparative difference because itemization is losing power on your character versus other things. But this means that your character's base power is going to be stronger relative to the monsters, and so it'll make it easier for your characters to actually perform in the content. So it's just, that's like, it's one of those things where like, yes, it will do that, but they're not taking away past life bonuses. So yeah. Furthermore, with this patch, they're also adjusting party scaling. They're basically making party scaling a little bit lenient. Somebody said, what about 20 to 29 monsters? They have not been debuffed, which means yes, Ravenloft monsters will be easier than most monsters pre-Ravenloft. And then they also talk about the short-term and long-term benefits. So content pack parity, which means and it doesn't matter what pack you buy, you can get items. Caneth crafting viability, you can actually Caneth craft. Random loot's going to be more powerful. Augments are more powerful. They're going to try to get rid of difficulty spikes in content. Impact on content creation, which means they can just use formulas, because apparently they were actually custom tweaking all their monsters before, which they don't want to do. Combat and statistical granularity, so it makes it easier to understand because the numbers are smaller. Smooths out the leveling experience, so your level 28 items don't feel valueless next to your 29s, and they future-proof the design by making it linear. All of these things make sense. Also, Gypsy just gave out a sub to Trog. Gypsy, thank you so much for the support. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. And guild augments are being depreciated. I don't know anybody that uses these, so that's fine. Sibri Spirit Cakes now be used by raging players. Great change. Loot Gen docents should once again display their correct base appearance. Good change. Docents' old armor potion gets applied once more should now show their appearance. Good change. Weapons that do non-mundane damage such as Flame Blades or Celestia now correctly interact with DR. God tier change! Oh, I've wanted this change for so long. Ah, it's a big buff. Trap the Soul now requires a standalone special component called Kyber Dragon Shard that is found in shops whenever high-quality spell components may be found. This component works for all variations of Trap the Soul. This is a great change. One of the main issues with Trap the Soul is it limits the ability in which you can actually trap the soul of monsters. However, now you don't have that limit. This means it will work much more like Warlock Trap the Soul, which has no actual cost, so you can just do that instead. So that's going to be very, very good. So big Trap the Soul buff, Conjuration, it's going to be good. Brilliant Crescent, main hand now works with Swashbuckling. I didn't know it didn't, which is very funny. So we'll see. So will Epic Elite feel like 6 times tougher than Epic Hard? Yes. Oh, try Storm. Legendary Storm. Go with Legendary Storm. Are they adding this new component for Warlocks? No. Still limited by hit die? Then that might be. The Warlock one isn't. Apparently, all of these sets from Sharn were not using Artifact as their type, and also they nerfed Arcsteel Battle Mage, which no one used anyway, which is hilarious. The Glowing Eyes cosmetic now show Elven ears correctly. I didn't even know they didn't do that, so that's kind of a weird one. A new monster manual is available for purchase and free to VIPs. This monster manual also comes with the expansion if you buy it, containing Griffin, Satyr, Goblin, animated objects, living spells, gnomes, harpies, marless, forge wraiths, and wights. I can't believe wights were not included in the base one. How did we miss that one for so long? Alright, quests and adventure areas. Monsters no longer cast persistent spells like Wall of Fire, crowd control spells like Rapid Soundburst and Rapid Succession. This is great. Less Soundbursts makes me a happy, happy person. Barovia is a dangerous place, and the Abbey of St. Markovia is no exception. Those who seek safety may not always find it. This is basically, they got rid of a bunch of spots where you could avoid all damage. Like a bunch of, you know, what do we call them? Safe spots. They got rid of a bunch of them. Removing some NPCs from Meridia that were not meant to be there. I'm assuming that those are probably like the old NPCs for turning in some of the old ingredients from Shroud that aren't there. Fixed a scaling issue with monster stats in the following quest. Tower of Frost, Memory Lapse, kind of a big deal in Another Man's Trevor. So Tower of Frost used to have the hardest hitting monsters in DDO, hitting harder than any other monsters in the entire game. They no longer do that. So now you can actually run Tower of Frost. What an idea! So Zwabi's now bestows and resolves against Demon Queen, and Zwabi's Revenge separately, which means, for the first time in DDO history, you can now complete against the Demon Queen, have access to Zwabi's Revenge, and then use raid bypass timers to do it repeatedly if you want, or even more importantly, just do Zwabi's Revenge. You don't have to do ADQ every time. You do ADQ one time, and then you're done. And then you're done. That's it. Oh, I might actually start working this in. I might play this raid every once in a while now. That's so exciting. I'm probably going to end up doing that, because that's cool. All right. God damn, dude. Alright, some spike damage statted in Die of the Demigod, Legendary Lord of Blades, Legendary Master Artificer, Legendary Vision of Destruction, and 2 out to handle has been lowered. I don't know what the spike damage is going to be, but my understanding is this is probably boss damage that's being reduced on some monsters. So yeah, Die of the Demigod, Lord of Blades, Legendary Master Artificer, Vision of Destruction, and 2 out to handle are seemingly being made easier from the perspective of outgoing damage from the monsters. That's pretty exciting. However, the update after that, Babala Saga has more spell power. Now this might sound like scary to some of you, but it's important to note that Babala Saga has no stats. She is so easy to tank. Anybody can tank Babala Saga. Literally any player who plays the game and is in the raid can tank that boss. Babala Saga does 0 damage with her spells. On like R5, she does like 300 damage with Chain Lightning. I have no idea why. Now, it might actually be dangerous. I don't think it's going to be dangerous, but it might be dangerous, so we'll see. We're going to have to test it out. Age of Rage, Fred now has a better understanding of human clothing conventions, and Halvro Tumultum now delivers his speech no matter what. I didn't know that you could skip that. Members of the Sharn Syndicate have started wearing newer fashions from Sharn, and Talon Darson and Come Out and Slay has had an interior decoration from Sharn to give the furniture of his mansion a refresh. Oh, cool. That's exciting. You got Come Out and Slay got redecorated. I guess we have to do that. All right, races. Half-elves had a cosmetic update. Half-elven characters will automatically see their looks updated when they log into the game for the first time. You guys know that emote. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know why this is showing up here, but yeah. This is not going to exist anymore. They're getting rid of this, which means it'll be a relic of the past. That's right, the half-elves are actually going to look good. The Cocoon work on Pale Masters? Yes. It just does half. Just never played half-elves because the ugly plastic space alien from Nightmares. Oh god. Evard's had his tooltip fixed. I don't know what that means. The Alchemist spell Smoke Bomb, invisibility no longer remains after you begin attacking. Icons for certain drow damage over time poisons have been set to actually look like poison. When viewing a monster's hit points through selection, the percentage hit points of that monster's will now be shown in parentheses next to the current and max hit point total. Percentage health, please. So, percentage health is actually really impactful, and it's impactful because there are monsters and bosses that phase when they get to certain percentages of health. An easy example of this is in the final quest of the Age of Rage chain, Toxic Treatment. There's a beholder, and as you fight it, it summons ads at 66% and 33% hit points. A lot of people don't know this, and so they just rush their way down it. And when they do that, they summon 2 waves of ads, they lose, and they go, "Oh, it's a game too hard. I can't beat it. This boss is impossible. It's so difficult. There's too many monsters. I don't understand what's going on." Because nowhere in the game does it actually challenge you to do that, which is fair. Very few parts of Dungeons & Dragons Online, especially during the regular experience, actually have phased boss fights with interesting mechanics. Usually it's a single monster that just attacks you. It's just one monster in a room. You fight it. Maybe there's some ads. You fight it. It doesn't matter. Almost every single boss in the Age of Rage chain, all of them have phases. Halvro has a phase in the first boss fight, or sorry, in the first quest. The second quest has the fired known quarantine. Has different phases where the guys come out of the individual rooms on the side. The third quest, where you have to fight the giant in Madness of the Crowds, has the elementals pop up at a different part during the fight, and then as well, when he gets even lower health, he summons the drow. The fourth boss fight, or the fourth quest, Age of Rage, the final beholder in that quest actually summons the eyeballs as well as the other things at different health thresholds, and so does the last one. So the game gives you a lot of time to know that that's going to happen, that there's going to be phases, but people don't even know that. And the phases are relevant to the hit points, so you guys should know what's going to be happening there, and you'll be able to see that. Formatting for percentage hit points to your party members has been adjusted to take better advantage of the Clay UI space. The game now launches at 64-bit by default, and many recipes that did not show a full item description now do so.